Welcome to Primordialis. Today I'm going to be showing off a bunch of the currently known overcharge mechanics that we know in this game. Obviously I have a sister video with this concept as well, with H, who is the premier electrical knowledge person in this game. So if you want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, feel free to go watch that longer length video, but this one is planned to be more compact and just all of the information that you absolutely need in order to become unbelievably broken in Primordialis. So I'm going to start off with one of the easier and one of my more favored overcharge mechanics, and that is health monitor overcharge. So I've got a very simple setup here. We're using Seekers so that way we can control the build fairly well. We're using Hearts so that way we regenerate quickly if we take any damage. And then we've got this conductive loop set up here. The reason I've got a conductive loop set up, this isn't necessary, but it definitely helps. You could use any conductive material you wanted here, as long as it doesn't interfere with the build too significantly. But the idea is that this loop makes it so when this heart monitor breaks away and makes contact with the conductive, it'll no longer spam a whole bunch of them, which will end up normally losing you a whole bunch of biomass for no reason. So that's a mechanic to mitigate that. And then we are using health infusing cells. Note that you could combo your health monitor cell with like a leeching cell, for example, and that would also work. There's lots of different ways of getting around this and doing this. And yeah, then we're just having it go into this little spot here. It's going to generate a whole bunch of electricity, and when a cell is detached from your body, the amount of biomass that it can gain is uncapped, meaning that you can just kind of keep gaining more and more biomass, which is going to give you more and more power, because health monitor gains voltage directly tied to how much biomass it has stored in it. So I'm going to go ahead and show that off with a single electricity, and you can see here, oh, I think I've already got a charge going. Let me go ahead and reset the charge by doing this. I'm just going to delete those. And then we'll bring that all back, and you can see we've got one in there, and you can see this is a single electricity with absurd levels of distance and power. And you got to keep in mind that I have it in this little area here, for that way, so that way it continues to steal biomass, and that will continue to generate power. So we're gonna go into the overview here. And you can see when I'm backing up, that stored biomass is graying out on the front because it's all being given to the health monitor cell, which is really cool. And yeah, by the way, if this, I'm hoping this video comes out when this is still a beta branch feature. If you press I in the beta branch, you get all this extra information, which is incredibly high value. And yeah, I definitely recommend using it. It's super good when it's not breaking like this. Anyways, yeah, this is one of the earliest discovered overcharge methods. Still definitely one of my favorites. I think it's really good. One of the main things you need to be careful with in this build is that it's very hard to turn off and on. Once you've got it on, you're probably going to be stuck with it on until you do like an emergency detach like this. But obviously that leaves you pretty defenseless until you set it up again. And also, you're leaving these little pellets behind. These guys here, they have unbelievable biomass stored in them. And if they touch an electrical object, like another enemy who has, like, radiant, for example, or electricity, these are literal death landmines for you. So you have to be really, really careful with those. Like, just have a great level of fear and respect for these little balls, because they will be the death of you if you're not careful. So yeah, those are the main positives and negatives of this build. Very, very good with electricity. Very good if you can get like the right combo cell. For example, heat pumping is great, but what's even better than heat pumping is like a heat pumping laser combo. That would be insane, and it wouldn't freeze you over then. But yeah, there's a here. I've actually got it here. I forgot that I set it up. So like, that's a meaty laser. Look at that. It even killed the super biomass thing there. And yeah, this thing will do immense damage. Here, I'll spawn in a creature. You can see that we're able to maintain a pretty good power level here. So we'll spawn a guy in. Just just lots of damage. Lots of significant damage potential from this. You can see though that I've frozen over. Obviously there's ways of counteracting that, but this is an overcharge video. You can figure that out yourself. Just make a big build and you'll overcome the freezing. That's generally what I'd recommend. But I do have another variant of health overcharge that I want to show you before we move on to our next overcharge. Let me go ahead and show this variant off. I am going to be recording all these in like bite-sized sections, so that way hopefully they're easy to edit and easy and optimized for people to understand. And hopefully I can pull that off. We'll see. We'll see. I'll do my best. But yeah, we've got this variant here. So this variant uses an attached, so no detach or breakaway cell. This is an attached health monitor cell. And if you were paying close attention earlier, you would have noted that I said detached cells have an uncapped biomass that they can like increase. When it's a part of your body, there is like a negative regeneration effect that applies to cells that are getting overhealed. So you cannot go beyond a certain point because you'll start to lose out on those benefits. It's going to try and force you back down to your normal health. But we are going to fight against that as much as we can. And this variant is really good specifically for acid builds. And the reason behind that is because an overcharged acid will fire so far away that you won't be able to hit anything. So rather than creating more acid, it's just firing acid further away. Which means that it's not very useful unless we build around that. So that's exactly what this is for. We've got a set of balloons here with our own activator. And when I hit spacebar, these balloons will inflate. Then we've got a self-touch cell, which is going to be taking in a lot of the, or all of the healing that we're going to get from health infusing cell. We've got some phasing cells in here. When this makes contact with the phasing cells, it's going to phase all of these, and the value of that is that it's going to make it so we are touching more of these at once, which is going to give us a greater surface area. Very, very effective and useful. And yeah, basically, this is going to get a bunch of overcharge, and then we are going to be firing acid at different lengths. We are using a voltage divider on each end, which is the grounded cell. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to fire at different ranges. So it's not all just going to fire at max range, which is really nice. So like this will have more power, and as it gets closer to the grounding, it's going to get less and less power, which will fire closer and closer. So we've got a bit of a mess in our setup there with all those extra materials from previous. So let's go ahead and make sure we get rid of those right away. And you can see that it's partially charged just with this setup. But then when I hit spacebar, we've got our full charge. And you can see here, we've got a pretty defined set of whatchamacallits, the jet streams. And you can see they're a little bit variable in their length, but overall we are getting like some truly insane range. And obviously this is the sort of build that's going to require some additional fine-tuning. And I wanted to show off this build where you can kind of see the different ranges in this way. But obviously, if you're firing like this, it's really not that good. But if we make a little modification, so I'm going to do this like speedy style. And I'm going to get rid of these guys. And we're going to have these all firing in one direction. Because I think that this variant is quite snazzy and good. So, let me just go ahead and put some cells here. I'll use conductors. That's fine. I just want this to be a little bit more evened out. And then we're going to use grounding on either side here. And, yeah, this could be whatever. Like, it's not super important. But the important part is that we've got all of these facing in the same direction, right? This is what I want to show off. And keep in mind, we've got these grounding on each side, so that way we've got the voltage dividing happening. And it'll take a moment to kind of do its thing properly here as it's adjusting. This is very janky. I gotta do this so that way it's a little bit more controlled. And you can see that the acid is kind of bullying itself a little bit here. Give it 1 sec. It'll start to work properly. I promise. I hope. Otherwise, I'm gonna look real silly. But we'll see if we can get it working. Okay, here we go. This variant, because I threw it together very fast, is doing a lot of self-damage. Here, let me see what I can do to adjust that. I think the thing that's causing it is probably the phasing. What I can do is add in some jet cells, which will independently pull away that that acid. So let me do that really quick. All right. After some slight adjustments, I managed to get it working. The phasing was pushing the health monitor cell into the acid, so that's something I definitely got to be careful about. Having an extra like layer of barrier there with like conductive cells, for example, would be a good solve to that. But yeah, you can see that I've got these all set up in a line, and you can see that we've got these big puffs at various locations, which is super useful if you're trying to set up a nice acid overcharge build. And yeah, obviously you'd want to not have it at like a wonky angle like this, but you get the idea, and you can see how this could be useful. But yeah, that's the health monitor overcharge. Let's go ahead and move on to the next overcharge build right now. Next up is the overcharge heat loop. So this one is very effective and is pretty easy to set up, as well as being relatively safe as long as you're using the right type of cells. Now, those right type of cells, I would argue, is pretty much just heat pump. Heat pumping cell generates negative heat on you and positive heat on the enemy, which makes it pretty manageable. And the way this setup works is very simple. Thermoelectric charge generates charge based on the type of temperature that's going into it. A positive temperature, so if you heat up the thermoelectric cell, will give you a positive charge. A negative temperature will give you a negative charge, which means that because we don't want to superheat ourselves, we'd rather cool ourselves because that's safe. So we're going to provide a negative charge via heat pump cell, which pulls heat from our body and puts it into enemies. And negating cell is going to invert that negative charge into a positive charge, creating a little heat feedback loop. So what we're going to do is I'm going to feed the temperature, and you can see our body is now cooling down. And I don't even need to hold the button anymore because this loop is now going. Now, one of the things about this is the stronger you make the build, the more powerful, the more thermal you add in, thermoelectric, the colder your body is going to get. And that's good for damage, but it's also bad for movement. You can see we've slowed down quite a lot here. One of the best ways to mitigate this is obviously with a heatsink cell. So heatsink is going to help a little bit, but not that much. And if I were to do an extra layer, once again, not doing too much, But if I do a layer of like elastic or a layer of flex cell with a layer of heat pump, we'll just go ahead and I'm going to demake and remake the build really quick here. So let me delete and respawn like so. Okay, so now that we've got this layer here, in theory, it should prevent the electricity or the freezing point from getting past this for the most part. It'll stop it in its tracks entirely. And yeah, this is a really, really good method of insulation. Make sure you don't put it too close to your thermoelectric or you'll be losing an absolute ton of power. And that is really not what you're looking for. But you can see that this is a very effective method of preventing the heat from getting, or the heat from getting away from you. Another method is to just have a large chunk of body that you can detach. And obviously, every time you detach it, that fresh body that respawns will no longer be frozen. You can also just be a giant body, and that works too, because you can see as this temperature continues to drop, it does eventually overcome our heat insulation system. So that is a bit of a thing. Definitely something to keep an eye out for. Now, this is just one thermoelectric variant. Let me go ahead and show off the damage here before we go any further. So there's this guy here, and we're all powered up. So you can see that we've got some pretty good damage coming out there. But let's go ahead and throw some electricity onto this puppy as well. So we'll expand this out a little bit like so. And I'm going to just use these guys here, so that way they're firing forward. And you can see that we're getting an insane amount of electricity. The reason I like to use electricity is it's a really good way to showcase the power scaling of your setup. And yeah, you can see that it is very, very potent. And one of the really nice parts about thermoelectric overcharge is that unlike some of the other methods, there is a hard cap to hot and cold, how hot things can get and how cold things can get, which means there is a hard cap to how powerful your electricity can get. But that's actually kind of a good thing, because if you run away with it a little too much, you'll find yourself getting yourself killed very often. Now, is this a perfectly 100% safe strategy? It never is when you're using overcharge, because if you touch something that takes some of your electrical charge, that can be reflected back at you in a way that can lethal you. So definitely something to keep an eye out for always when you're using overcharge is, you know, how are things going to interact when you're generating this electricity. So yeah, this is a really good setup. But there's an even better setup. Entropic, there's a perk called, or a mutation called Entropic Reversal. Your cells that cause heating will instead freeze, and vice versa. So this is really, really good, because it means that we can use something that's normally generating positive heat to instead generate negative heat. Which is going to open up even more options, and it'll make an electrical-centered build significantly stronger. So I've actually prepared a little heat overcharge loop that H helped me make last time around, so we're going to go ahead and show this puppy off. And let me just go ahead. You can see it's not really doing anything right now, but let's explain exactly how this guy works. So we've got some hearts on there, just because HP is good. You should always have HP on your build, if you can help it. You've got some conductive cells. This is just a way to dissipate some of the extra charge, because things are going to get crazy. We've got a laser that we're going to be activating with spacebar, firing into a singular thermoelectric cell, which is going to be generating negative heat, because we're going to be using entropic to reverse the power of the laser. And then we've got, obviously it's coming back through these conductive cells, negative, and then it's coming through this negating cell. So this is inverting into a positive, and this is inverting into a positive. It's simple. It's simple. Believe it or not. Even though it looks a little scary, it's pretty easy. So we've got that all set up. I'm gonna go ahead and hit spacebar. And now we've got a very, very strong laser. Obviously, we're so small that we're completely frozen. But we have already learned how to deal with that using this very simple method here. And once again, the longer or the bigger your build, the further the temperature has to travel. So, you know, as long as you've got a large enough build, you're going to have an easy time negating that. And yeah, makes for a very, very potent battery of death. Very cool. That is the thermoelectric overcharge. Very, very good. Very easy to understand. I think this is like one of the better introductory overcharge setups that you should be using. And obviously it's relatively safe compared to a lot of them as well. So, would recommend. But yeah, let's move on to yet another one. This one's likely to be a lot more advanced as we're getting deeper and deeper into the overcharge discoveries. Alright, let's go. Next up, we've got the Speedometer cell overcharge. This one is one of the least controllable overcharges in my personal opinion. I have a very hard time not killing myself with this one, but I'm sure it's possible. It probably just requires a tiny amount of restraint, which, you know, I am not very good at when it comes to in my runs. But it's very simple. The faster you go, the more voltage we create. So obviously the limitation on that is that you can only go so fast, right? There's only so much amount of speed that you can fit into like a small area. Now there's a lot of ways of generating speed. You can spin. You can use jets, you can do all sorts of stuff. But if we pair Stasis cell with any sort of speed generation, Stasis stores your momentum. Meaning, you can stay in one place and generate speed. Now, you'll note that my stasis is not attached to my speedometer cell. Because if I did attach it to my speedometer cell, I would go so fast that I would void out and end up in, like, the, you know, no man's land. I would end up in eternal darkness for all time, and my save would be destroyed. Like, legitimately, it's that dangerous. So, you know, try your best to avoid that. If you've been seeing any of my videos where I use stasis, I die every single time. And I'm gonna keep using it because it's fun as hell. But yeah, we've got a pretty simple build setup here. We've got a bunch of speed cells that we're using so that way we can manipulate our swim speed and I can actually like go backwards even despite having all of these jet cells active at the same time. I can still actually kind of control my build. And then we've got a bunch of impact cells on the front, which deal damage scaling based off speed. And then we've got the centerpiece where I can hit spacebar and it'll freeze my entire body in place. So if I go ahead and do that, the longer I hold spacebar, the faster I'll go. So you can see, like, this is how fast I'm going with just this. But, like, let's say there's an enemy right in front of me, you hold spacebar, and once you're ready, you just let go of it and you go absolutely crazy. Very simple build concept, and this is obviously like the babyest form of this that you can manage. But this is one of those overcharge modifier techniques that pretty much no matter what you do with it, you are going to find a way to kill yourself. So you have to be extremely, extremely reserved with your usage. Now, does that mean you shouldn't jump into sandbox and like go crazy, do all sorts of dumb stuff? Absolutely not. Go nuts. It's hilarious. It's so funny. Here, let's go ahead and spawn in a dummy and I'll see if I can actually land a ram on him. It's easier said than done with a build like this, that's for certain. Now, one thing I could do, maybe... Oh. That time I just blew myself up. One thing I could do, maybe, is tie the, stasis cells to, like, a feeler cell, for example, and then have, like, some sort of negative, switch to flip it off. So when I touch an enemy, it activates, and then once I, flip the switch, it turns off. So that would look a little something like, let's see. So let's say I've got like 1 feelers. Let's trim this back. So feeler cell is here. Here we go. So feeler cell, and then we have our stasis guy there. And then we could also have a negative switch to turn it off. And we're going to want more negative power than positive power. So that's the idea with that. And so let's see if this actually works. So yeah, you can see that I bumped into it, and I'd want a smaller build because I need it to fit in the stasis, right? Because this is like the back part of my body where I'm supposed to be generating speed, but I'm not. But yeah, then if I hit spacebar, oh, right, because I've got all these guys down here, that's causing problems. But yeah, so I can have it where it's active, and then when I hit spacebar, it deactivates. And yeah, this could be like an effective mechanism for using this effectively. But yeah, as you can see, this stuff like just straight up tears you apart if you're not careful. It's crazy how powerful it is. But yeah, very fun and very cool. Stasis is an extremely entertaining overcharge method, and I like goofing around with it a lot. Folks, the next thing we're going to look at is the pulse drive overcharge system. This is an extremely weird and complex one. To make it very simple to understand, the idea is that we're creating a closed loop where we're ignoring the normal rules of, like, you know, energy conservation and all that sort of thing. And yeah, we're just generating infinite electricity. I do have an excerpt here from H, because he really wanted to make sure that I explained this one correctly. Because, yeah, it didn't actually come through properly in the video where he had explained it with us together. So I'm going to go ahead and read word for word what he says. This is the explanation. Inductors are a bit hard to imagine because they are abstract, so let's make a metaphor with physical objects instead. For example, a bouncing ball. An oscillation is like a ball bouncing. So you can see how this whole setup is oscillating. So an oscillation is like a ball bouncing. Voltage flips every bounce. Voltage of the inductor, which is this guy here, is like the height of the ball above the ground. Current is like the speed of the ball. Inductance is the resistance to change in current, which is like inertia. The resistance to change in momentum, speed, velocity. Difference in voltage is like gravity. An isolator is like a switch that can turn gravity from very high to very low by generating a voltage different to the voltage of the inductor. If I have a bouncing ball, and at the start of a bounce, I make gravity really low, the ball will soar to incredible heights or voltage. Then, at the top of its extremely high bounce, I turn gravity back on to make it very high. The ball will then start rapidly accelerating down, reaching incredible speeds. Then, on the start of the next bounce, if I turn gravity very low again, but the ball maintains its ridiculous speed due to inertia inductance, rinse and repeat. So we're making an exponential growth where our voltage is shooting up and then dropping down to extreme degrees. And yeah, that's kind of the analogy that H has given here, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So basically, the system that we've got here is we've got this negative charge that's passively on at all times, and then we've got this ability trigger, which I am in control of. When I hit spacebar, I can basically do exactly what he's saying. So when things go negative, I can pulse, and as long as I get that pulse right, we're going to start to loop. And once it does that, it's going to take control and start doing it all on its own because of the way this loop is set up. So I've got this demonstration part of the build up here. So this is how you would utilize this in an actual setup. If you tried to directly attach something to this, it'll be very hiccupy because it's alternating between a positive and negative charge all the time. So the best way to utilize this is to actually take that charge and put it into a capacitive cell, and we want to take the negative charge, not the positive charge. Yes, that is exactly it. We want to take the negative charge and not the positive charge. So the positive charge will eat the breakaway, and that means that the positive charge will never make it to the capacitive. The negative charge, however, will flow through the breakaway freely, and then we can use the negating cell to invert that negative charge into a positive charge. So once this grows, you'll see that for now it's fairly weak, but I'm going to start to pulse it, and you can see the negative charge is growing in the capacitive. And this does require a little bit of timing and a little bit of setup to get working, but once you get a feel for it, which I'm very newbie at still, by the way, it is very strong, and you can see now we're starting to get into that higher power range. So let's go ahead and shoot a thing. You can see I have some dummies set up this time. And we've actually got, like, very normal damage, which means I've probably not pulsed it enough. Let's go ahead and pulse it some more and get it even more power. And we'll see if we can get this thing. I had one of these fully powered up earlier, but yeah, it does take a little bit to get to that point. So once this goes blue, that's when I want to hit the pulse. So yellow is negative and blue is positive, and yeah, it's a bit of a weird timing. Not quite full power just yet. I swear I had this going just a moment ago. But yeah, this one is definitely one of the more, like, technical ones, but very cool. And I think it's pretty fun to play around with. That said, it is one of the ones that requires the most parts, and I'm going to show a much easier variant of this build right after this as well. This thing is not charging up. I'm gonna go ahead and look at my source material and make sure that I got this going right. So give me one moment. Alright, looks like we've got the loop going now. It's just a matter of timing it properly. It's a little bit weird, but once you've got it going, we are just going to continually have, like, an exponential power growth. And you can see that it's just kind of running away with the loop. And I didn't really change much of anything with the build. I just got rid of one of the breakaways, so that way it's got a shorter travel time for the electricity. Oh my goodness! So you can see there, our power just kind of went absolutely insane. And yeah, we're now doing pretty good damage. Pretty good damage with this one. Now, one thing to note about this build is that, unlike the other builds, this one goes very far beyond the max power of thermal and the acceleration and even the heart monitor cell. And the reasoning behind that is because this one has exponential growth. All of the other ones are linear, so they're going to be limited by time or even by the thermal maximums. So this one, while it did take a while to get going, once you've got it going, it is hitting targets far, far beyond the power of the other ones. So, yeah, this is an incredibly overpowered technique, but obviously the biggest drawback is that it is by far the most complex overcharge that I've shown so far, and possibly the most complex in terms of just like raw amount of materials needed out of all the overcharges that we will see in the future as well. As right now, some of them are actually being developed to be much simpler, and I'm actually going to go ahead and show off a much simpler battery right now. So I'm going to pivot right into this next one. So yeah, this is the Pulse Drive, is what this one is named. And the next one that I'm going to show off here, I don't know if it has a name, but it is a charge reactor. So we're going to go ahead and show this off really quick. Alright folks, the battery has been made for this next one, and this one is very simple. I'm going to delete it and then remake it just to make sure that it's activated at the right time. So yeah, this one is a much simpler design, and it's utilizing charging cell, which already kind of does some of its own weird power scaling stuff on its own. So yeah, this is a brand new reactor design. It's tiny, automatic, and reliable. And it gets to max voltage as well, which is great. It's super good. It's really good. Now, the biggest caveat with this one is that you have to wait for it to power up. So once you've got it activated, you can see that it's going to start looping in power, very similar to the other system. So you can see that it is doing this pulse. And with every pulse, it is going to get stronger and stronger. So if I were to like only start using it after a couple of pulses, it's going to be significantly weaker than it would be if I were to start using it immediately. So this variant, it's already been pulsing for a while, so it's doing okay damage. But that said, we can do way more damage than that if we let it continue pulsing for significantly longer. And basically, as soon as you've got this thing hooked in, that is when you have you've basically maxed out its power range, which is nice because that means you can kind of choose how ridiculously overpowered you want your stuff to be. So yeah, this one is very strong, very efficient, and it doesn't need a ton to get going. So yeah, this one's definitely worth your time. Super simple system, and once again, I do believe it's using the same loop method here with the electric isolator as well as the inductive cells. And yeah, once again, isolator is kind of the key for allowing the inductive cells to pulse or oscillate at a way that it actually gains energy. So yeah, very cool system. And once again, this sort of thing, this combination came out in between like the week or so. I've probably been sitting on H's video, H and my video for a week or two at this point, maybe 3. But my point is that the technology for Primordialis is growing very fast. And even by the time this video is out, there's a good chance there will be even more overcharges. So, with all that said, make sure you go and look in the Discord, because you will find many variants of all of these different modifiers. I'll make sure that there's a link to my Discord as well as the Primordialis Discord, which is incredibly in-depth. But we do get little tidbits in my Discord as well, if you're interested. But yeah, the level of depth that you will get from looking in the Primordialis Discord, it is beyond anything you could imagine. The science that this game has is astounding, and really fun to engage with. So I would highly recommend jumping in there. That said, I do still have, I believe, one more overcharge method to share with you. And for this one, we're going to have to go to the main game so that way I can show it off in its proper power level and its proper environment. Folks, right as I was going to record the final overcharge method, I realized that it got patched because it was a glitch regarding power switch that we were able to utilize. Now, depending on what time you're watching this video, there's a good chance that if you're playing on the main branch, that it actually still works. That said, seeing as how it is a glitch, and it is patched for the modern version of the game, I will go ahead and leave that fancy little overcharge setup to the end of the H video. So if you're interested in seeing the really cool and weird glitch overcharge as well, then I would recommend you go and check that one out, and you will get the full scoop on that. But yeah, that's all the overcharges that I currently know of. There's quite a good chance that we will be encountering many more, and even by the time this video is released, perhaps there will be even more overcharge discoveries. So yeah, hopefully this video is useful to you. Hopefully you're able to integrate some of these into your normal play styles, and hopefully I'll be seeing lots more clips of people doing 1 billion damage to enemies that really don't deserve it. Because it's a lot of fun just doing absurd levels of damage, and also like having just the power of unlimited electricity at your fingertips. It's just a good time. And yeah, I want to give once again a huge shout out to the Primordialis community. You know, every single contribution is extremely important, and I think that the fact that the community has gone out of their way to share these things, you know, with me and everybody else is really cool. So please, once again, make sure you go and join the Primordialis Discord. And if you want to see more cool builds and like discoveries like this, let me know, and I will do some more videos like this where we show off some stuff. I'll do some more tutorial style builds. I'll do some more you know, complex and even simpler stuff as well, if this interests people. Alrighty, thank you all very much for watching. Huge shout out to everybody who's been subscribing lately, lots of new folks, and also big thank you to everybody who has been joining the member system. It's actually only 99 cents at the lowest, because I want everybody to be able to afford it, and that'll get you access to, or early access to, my videos. That's currently my only incentive, because I don't really want to you know, gate content or anything like that behind a paywall. I don't think that's fair. And yeah, I think just being able to watch my videos on whatever schedule you want rather than whatever schedule I want seems like a fair compromise. But yeah, that's all for now. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Boop. しょうがねえな。よっこら。